A very warm good morning, students. Welcome to your social science class. Students, since in our last class we have completed with the chapter the Indian Constitution, we have done the recapitulation, we have also done the question answers. So this brings us to another chapter from history, from trade to territory. The company establishes power. So yes, students, today we are going to begin with the chapter from trade to territory. Major learning objectives. What are learning objectives, students? Learning objectives are the outcomes that are expected to be achieved at the end of a chapter. That means the knowledge that we are supposed to have, the concepts that we are supposed to grasp towards the end of a chapter is what the learning objectives constitutes. So students, the learning objectives enable us to have a clear picture of why we are studying a particular chapter, what that particular chapter will give us, what knowledge we will have from that chapter, what concept we will derive from that particular chapter, what outcome will be achieved from that particular chapter. So this is the main concept of learning objectives. So let us see what this chapter will give us, what knowledge we will gain from this chapter. That means the learning objectives of the chapter from trade to territory. So students, this chapter will enable us to unfold or to understand the story of how a trading company turned into a political power. So students, this chapter will help us understand how the British, who initially came as a trading company, converted itself into a major political power. Also students, this chapter will help us to understand how the consolidation of British power was linked to the formation of colonial armies and administrative structures. So students, this chapter will also help us to understand how the British combined its various forces to turn into a major power, and how this British power was linked with the colonial army, that means the British army, and the administrative structure. That means with the coming of the British in India, the British was able to change the entire administrative scenario of India. What India used to be at the past completely changed with the coming of the British. So this chapter will enable us to know about the transition that India witnessed with the coming of the British. So yes students, let us begin with our today's class. Introduction. This chapter will tell us about the entry of British in India and the conditions that were prevailing in India at that time. So students, this chapter will help us to understand how the British entered India and what were the conditions prevailing in India at that time. So students, during the time British entered India, it was ruled by Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was the last powerful Mughal emperor. So when British came to India, India was ruled by whom? It was ruled by Aurangzeb. But students, after the death of Aurangzeb in 1707, the Mughal kingdom, it split it into different or various regional kingdoms, because with the death of Aurangzeb, the various Mughal governors and zamindars took advantage of the situation and they captured various small territories and they converted it into their own regional kingdoms. So Delhi, which was initially considered as the center of effective administration, no longer was able to hold on to that position, because with the death of Aurangzeb, various small regional kingdoms emerged and Delhi no longer could hold the position of an effective center. So this is the change India witnessed after the death of Aurangzeb. The emergence of a new power, that is British. Let us see how the British emerged as a new power. By the second half of the 18th century, the political horizon saw the emergence of a new power, that is British. So students, meanwhile, when the Mughal kingdom was split into various regional kingdoms, India witnessed the emergence of another superpower, another new political power, that is the British. The British, they initially came as a mere trading company. That means they initially did not think of capturing India. They initially did not think of ruling India, but they initially came just as a trading company, just to trade in India. And the British company who initially came to trade in India was known as East India Company. Let us know something about the East India Company. So students, how this East India Company came to India? So at that time, students, in England, there was the rule of Queen Elizabeth I. Okay, so Queen Elizabeth I granted power or right to the East India Company to come and trade in India. That means the Queen Elizabeth I, she gave the right to the East India Company to came to India and trade in the East. Since they came and traded in the East, that is why it is known as East India Company. And with the power or with the right which was given by Queen Elizabeth I, the company acquired a charter, and this was in the year 1600. So students, after the Queen granted permission to the East India Company to come and trade in India, the company acquired a charter. Charter means a written permission which is given by the superlative authority. So in that case, the superlative authority was Queen Elizabeth I. She was the supreme authority, right? So that written permission was granted to the East India Company by Queen Elizabeth I, and after that the East India Company came to trade in India. Since the right was given only to the East India Company, that means it was the sole right which was given to East India Company. This means that the East India Company had no fear of competition from any other trading company, because they acquired the sole right. That means they have the only right to come and trade in India. No other company was allowed to trade in India. So there was no fear for the East India Company that they will have to face competition from other trading companies, because there was no other trading company which was given permission or who acquired a charter from the king. So the mercantile trading companies, the various trading companies during that time made profit by eliminating competition. So students, at that time, the main way to make profit was to eliminate the competitions which arise on the path of the company. So one way to make more and more profit was to eliminate competition. So this was the way of trading which was undertaken at that time. However, students, this royal charter or the written permission which was granted to the East India Company only could not stop the other countries or the other companies from entering the eastern market. So students, this means that even though the Queen provided the sole right to the East India Company to come and trade with India, there were other countries or other companies too who wanted to trade in India. So by various illegal means, they started entering India. Even though they did not have the written permission or the charter of the Queen, then too they entered India and started trading in India through various illegal means. In fact, even before the first English ship could come across the Indian ship, the Portuguese had already established their power in the in the western coast. So students, it was not that only the East India Company was interested in trading with India. Various other companies, various other countries were also interested in trading with India. So the Portuguese, who had already come before the English could come and who had already established their power in India, they set up their base, the base of their trade in Goa. Okay. In fact, the sea route through which the English came to India, this sea route was explored or discovered by Vasco da Gama. Vasco da Gama was a Portuguese explorer who explored or who discovered this sea route to India in the year 1498. So students, even though the Queen allowed the sole right to the East India Company to come and trade in India, even before the East India Company could come, the Portuguese traders have already entered India and established their power. In fact, that route to enter India, the sea route through the Indian Ocean, was explored by a Portuguese explorer. His name was Vasco da Gama, and it was explored in the year 1498. Not only the Portuguese but the Dutch and the French were also interested in trading with India, and they were in fact finding out ways as to how to enter the eastern market through the Indian Ocean. So students, you can see there were various countries who were interested in coming to India and trading here. So not only the English but the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, all these companies were finding out ways as to how to enter India and how could they trade in India. Why? The reason is why. Why were they so much interested in coming to India and trading in India? Because of the rich resources that were available in India. So students, at that time, India had plenty of fine qualities of cotton, silk, pepper, cloves, cardamom and cinnamon. So all these spices and all these silk, cotton, etc. were available in India, which attracted this foreign traders to come and trade in India, because India was rich in all these spices, India was rich in the cotton textile, India was rich in the textile silk. So to obtain all these important resources, this Dutch, this French, the Portuguese, the English were attracted towards India, and they thought of coming to India to trade here. Okay, so what happened with the coming of the English, with the coming of the Portuguese, the French, the Dutch, the competition among them increased. Initially, the right was only given to the East India Company, so there was no fear of competition. But now, as they came to know that they are not the only one to enter India for trade, but the Portuguese, the Dutch and the French have also entered India for trading, the competition among them increased. And this competition increased the prices of these resources or these items which were available in India, and the rise in price led to a fall in the profit that was supposed to be made. So students, this led to a conflict or rivalry among these companies. So each of them wanted to have the most of the profit by betraying the other company. So it led to a conflict or rivalry, or very sharp rivalry among these trading companies. All of them wanted to have these resources that are available in India, and all of them wanted to make more profit than the other company. So this led to a battle, fierce battle among these trading companies. So students, these trading companies, they started engaging in various kinds of battles. They started putting each other down. They sank each other's ships. They thought of various ways to reduce or to eliminate this competition. So the various measures that were adopted by these companies to eliminate competition were sinking of each other's ships, blocking of the routes in order to prevent the moving of the rival ships with supply of goods. So they sank each other's ships, they even blocked the routes in order to prevent the other company from taking these resources. Even arms were used in trading and forts were built. So students, in order to protect these resources, all these companies started building forts. And not only the companies built forts, in order to protect these rich resources that India had at that time, even the local Nawabs and the local Rajas, they made forts in order to protect these resources. And students, this fortification means building of forts, okay. So this fortification led to conflicts among the local Rajas and Nawabs. So students, with the coming of the East India Company and other trading companies, this led to a serious conflict not only among these trading companies but also among the Indian rulers, because they started building forts to protect the resources, and this fortification or the process of making forts led to battles or conflicts among the Indian rulers as well. So students, trade was very difficult to be separated from politics. Trade and politics got mixed up. In trade, arms were used. In trade, different tactics were adopted to eliminate the competition from the rivals. So it was no longer possible to separate trade from politics. So students, this is how the East India Company entered India and how they faced difficulty in making profit, and how along with East India Company the various other companies also entered India, and how trade led to various conflicts. So students, this is all about today's class. But before winding up the class, let us do a quick recap of all the topics that are done so far. So today we started with an introduction to the chapter From Trade to Territory. From there we went on to analyze the learning objectives. That means the outcomes that we expect to achieve at the end of the chapter. We also came to know about the conditions prevailing in India at the time of the arrival of the British. India was ruled by the last Mughal emperor Aurangzeb, who was a very powerful Mughal ruler. But after his death, the vast Mughal kingdom was split into various small regional kingdoms by these Mughal governors and zamindars to have their own separate kingdom. So students, Delhi no longer remained as an effective center of administration. We also came to know about how the East India Company acquired a charter from Queen Elizabeth I that granted them the sole right to come and trade in India. But before the East India Company could enter India, the Portuguese already established their power in India, and they had even set up their base in Goa. The sea route to India was explored by one Portuguese explorer, Vasco da Gama. Not only the Portuguese, the Dutch and the French were also interested in trading in India. This is because of the rich variety of spices and textile that was available in India at that time. Cotton textile, silk textile, cinnamon, cloves, cardamom, pepper, etc. were available in India in plenty. So all these companies wanted to buy these spices and textiles from India at a cheaper rate so that they can sell it in their own country at a high price. But all these companies wanted these resources. So this led to a rise in competition among these companies, which in turn led to serious conflicts or battles among these companies. They sank each other's ships. They even blocked the routes of each other in order to prevent them from taking these supplies or from moving with this supply of goods. So students, in order to protect these resources, the Indian rulers built forts, and this process of fortification led to conflict among the Indian rulers as well. So students, with the coming of the East India Company, there was conflict not only among the trading companies, but conflict also started taking place among the Indian rulers. So it became very difficult to separate trade from politics. Trade and politics got mixed up. So students, this is all about the topics that we have done. In case you have any doubt or difficulty, please let me know. You can contact me. I am always there to assist you. So with this students, we have come to the end of today's class. See you all in your next class. Thank you and stay safe. Have a nice day.